Hello, my name is Lucas, and today this is part 3 of building the Tamiya Grasshopper. Now we've done, the two previous steps have been assembling the rear axle, and then we finished assembling the rear axle by putting in the motor and attaching it to the chassis. And then we did the suspension, so now we have shocks on the rear. Today, we are going to be installing the electronics. Now what you'll need for this is a radio system, including a transmitter. Mine looks like this, a receiver, which should look like this. I'm using a Turbo RC two-piece 2.4 gigahertz transmitter and a mini receiver that comes with it. You will also need the included speed controller, which there is a manual for under here that will give you all the instructions on which wires to connect, which we'll go more in detail on that later. You will also need the double-sided sticky tape that you get with it to install your electronics, the 2 zip ties to tidy up the wires, a couple of the control horns for the servo saver, and lastly, the servo saver, which comes in a couple different pieces, which together should look something like this. There's a bunch of them. And then a couple of the servo horns, which look like that. And then the last thing you'll need is a servo, which I am using this 35 kg metal geared servo off of Amazon. It's about $15. It's a good servo. So let's jump right in and let's start building. So the first thing we're gonna need to build is the servo saver. So let's start off by taking our servo out of the package. So pull that out, and then this servo that I bought, it comes with a screw that we might need, so I'm gonna pull that out just in case we'll need it for later, which we may or may not. And then we need to assemble the saver. So what we start off with is getting this piece, which looks like this, but the difference is from something like this, which looks like this, is you can see that this part, instead of going flat, it goes down. So we're gonna get one of these, which looks like this. And then we are going to put it like this, so the part that turns down is facing out. And then we're gonna grab one of these rings, which should look like this. And then we're gonna line it with this slot and just slide it in. It should kind of pop in. Might be a little tricky, but it should expand and pop right on like that. Then you'll hear a little clicking sound. Then we're gonna grab, let's see, this piece, which should click right in. Looks like this. So we're going to click that in. And then now that we've done that, I'm gonna see if that is the right thing. Now this should pop right onto our servo. Now, it might take a minute to kind of push it on, and if you can't, that probably means that your spline is a different spline. Now what that means is you can grab a different one of these adapters that will be bigger and fit your servo better. So you can grab a different one. If that one didn't work, again, slide it in, and then try that one. So we're gonna try the next one out, and that one fits perfectly. So now it clicked in, and that's on the servo, like so. So now what we're gonna do with that, like this, we're gonna grab a screw from bag B, we're gonna slide it in, like it's one of these screws, and then we're gonna slide it in, grab a screwdriver, and tighten it up most of the way. But the thing you gotta be careful about is not tightening it too far, because if you tighten it too far, when you start up the servo for the first time, it could strip something out. So you wanna make sure you tighten it enough, but not too much. So just take your time, get it in, and give me a second while I screw it on. And if that screw doesn't work, because it depends on your servo, how long of a screw you'll need, you can always take that screw out and use the included optional screw. So I'm going to take my screw back out, because this one was a little bit long for my particular servo. And now I'm going to go into my servo bag, which depending on which servo you have, it'll have different screws in it. I'm gonna go in and pull out the right screw. I'm gonna pull this out, and it should look somewhat like this. It's a little bit smaller, and then I'm gonna see if this screw works better. There, you can see it screws right in, and now that screw, it's a little, sometimes it's a little hard. Gotta tighten it right up, get it there. So, the hard part about these servos, they always pop out, but you can't get it, you can always depends on your servo. So for me, this is gonna work for now, and that's the servo horn on. So now what we gotta do is we're gonna go, and on this servo, you're gonna hold it like this. So it's the servo saver, you're gonna turn it so it's facing to one side of the servo, and then you're gonna grab two of these, which should look like this, and two of these, which should look like these, which are the linkage. And then you're gonna screw them together so it should thread right on, like so. You're just gonna screw it on like this, and then continue to screw on for a minute until you can't screw it anymore. So screw it on as far as I can screw it. Then we should be good to go after we finish this. So bear with me while I finish screwing this together. So it could be helpful if you put like a screwdriver or something in there to hold it while you turn it. Just continue to tighten that for a minute, and then it should be good. And then you're gonna want to do the other one. Tighten that one down. Just tighten it as far as you can get it till you can't tighten it anymore. So I want to tighten it. Continue. Another minute until it gets really hard to tighten. Then we can stop. Tightening it. This one's going a little further. Now we can go to the other one and just get it so it's around the same length. Okay, so now with that done, what you're gonna wanna do is go to your servo, and then with that servo, these horns, you're gonna wanna take the shorter one, and you're gonna slide it, push it up, and then turn it, so you basically go like this, so it's like the straight up and down, push it up into the bottom of the servo, rotate it, and then pull it up. And then that's one, and then do the same on the other side, the next one. Again, pushing it up, rotating, and pulling, and then those are together. So now that that's good, we're going to want to drop these. Give it a sec, sometimes they'll fall out, so you want to get those. And then you're going to push this into the front of the car, which should, let's see. Actually, you're going to need to get the steering blocks, which should be A4. So let's see, which part is that? Okay. So A4 should be these two. And those basically will just do the mount for your servo so it fits better. And then you'll need two of those, which should screw right onto the servo. And you'll need two screw Bs. And from bag A, you'll need two washers. So those washers should look like this, and the screws should look like this. So now, we're gonna set these down, and then you'll also, for this one, want to, let's see, what else do you want to do? So with the steering block, basically you want to tilt the servo like this onto the car. So I'm going to install the first one. So basically they should look like this. So put it vertically, push it onto the servo, and then just grab that one washer and one of the screws from bag B. Slide the washer onto the screw, and then put it underneath the servo. So you want to slide that on, the washer, put it under the servo, and then you're going to want to slide the screw on top of the servo and tighten it down. You don't want to tighten that down until you can't tighten it anymore. So holding the block and just get tighten. And then after I tighten that, I'm gonna do the other side. So again, inserting the washer onto the screw and just squeezing them together, grabbing the steering block, flipping it upside down, making sure these linkages don't get away, and then sliding it on and tighten it. Just tighten it like so, and just make sure you're good. So just tighten it down, and then after you're done tightening, it should look, what I was gonna say is after you're done tightening, one thing is you got, with these blocks, you gotta make sure they're the right way around, because on one side of the block, there's gonna be a little nib. I'll show you that in a second once I get the block off. It should look something like that. If you can see it, there's a little nib. So you want to actually flip that the other way around, so the nib is facing the bottom, and then tighten, because otherwise it'll get in the way of the servo. So be careful and watch out for where that nib is. So just tighten it down until you can't tighten anymore. Then once that's done, make sure the servos together. That we're going to take the servo, push it down like so, and then it should be sitting somewhat like this on the chassis. And on the bottom of the nibs, you'll notice that there's two little holes. So that's where you're gonna screw in the servo. So what you're gonna need to screw this in is screws from bag B, 2 of them. And so they should look somewhat like this. And then 2 washers from bag A. And those are the same washers that we used last time. And they should look somewhat like this. And then we're going to, again, I'm gonna set the chassis down so I don't have to hold that servo. Put the washer on the screw, and then we're gonna go underneath the screwdriver and tighten it down and get that on. So you can make sure you're on the nib, right, and then it's always useful if you're on like a table to push the end of the car off the table, so then you can go from underneath and get it. Otherwise it might be a little challenging, but even so, getting it from underneath while holding the servo can be a little challenging, so it could take a couple attempts to get it in. because it is pretty challenging to hold that screw there in place. So back that, stick it in, and making sure to find that. We're going to make sure to tighten the screw so we can actually get threaded. Once you get one threaded, then the rest will be easier. So it should go from underneath like that. It should thread. So now that we've got one, we can flip the car over, and then we can grab our screwdriver and fully tighten that one before moving on to the next one. And the next one, we can do the exact same thing. We grab the washer, put it on the screw, and then once that's done, we're gonna make sure we align the servo. We'll just stick that in, and then we'll align the servo, making sure it's aligned. It's a little hard to get aligned. There it is, it's aligned. And then trying to get it aligned, we're going to tighten it down. Once you got it, it's easier. A little challenging to get it in. Just take your time, line it up. Sometimes it is helpful to kind of have it in the middle so you can kind of see where it goes in, but it's a little harder to see it, so it might just take a minute to get it all lined up. If you have to, you can always pull the screw back out and try again with the alignment. So I'm gonna try again because I was having a little bit of a hard time getting that one in. So I'm gonna go back, make sure it's aligned, and then you actually loosen up the servo a little bit on one side so we can push it a little bit over so we can get the nub. So you might have a little trouble on this step. I know I definitely am having a little trouble on this. And just take your time for sure. It's not an easy step, so bear with me while I get my servo aligned. It's definitely challenging. There actually isn't another nub on the other one, so I cannot, I don't know why, but I cannot actually screw the other one in now. So yours, you definitely will need to make sure you get that aligned and right on your car. But for now, I'm just gonna want to move on so I can show you guys how to finish the car. So next, let's just move on to the next step and install our receiver. So what you're gonna want to do is grab your double-sided sticky tape and then grab your scissors and cut a little piece off the end. And then once you cut that little piece off, you grab that, peel off one side of it, either side works, and stick that to the bottom of your receiver. Just stick it on and peel off the other side. Then, once you peel off the other side, just take your time not to actually peel the tape, just peel off the side, and then you'll see it's sticky. And stick as far over to the right side of the car as you can. So I'm just gonna push it all the way over and stick it down and hold it for a minute so it sticks. Now that you've done that, that receiver is in, and you can go to your servo and take the wire, which should have an end like this. It's hard to see, I can't really move it very easily. Should have a small little end. and you're gonna push that into channel 1. So just stick it in, and that's good. So now you stuck that in. You're going to want to get the ESC. It should look something like this. And cut another small little piece of your sticky tape. Be a little bigger this time because you're putting in a little bigger thing. And peel it off, and then stick it to the bottom of the ESC. And you might think that you need a lot, but this stuff is really strong. You don't actually need a ton of it. Be careful, just peel it off nicely. And then that, put it as close to that receiver as possible. And just stick it down, hold it for a second. That should look something like that. So now that you've got all those wires, pretty messy, you can go into your manual for the speed controller, which is included. And what you want to do is, because you're running a brushed motor, this ESC can run a brushless motor, which I did say in the earlier part of this series that is good, because then you can run faster motors. But with this brushed motor, you'll notice there's only 2 wires in that, but 3 wires in the ESC. So one of those is for a brushless motor. So what you're gonna wanna do is not use the orange one. The orange one you don't use. And then you're gonna grab the yellow and plug that into the yellow. And then you're gonna grab the blue and plug that into the green. Plug that in. And now you've got this connected. So then you can grab a zip tie, which is included, and just stick that to the chassis rail. Just go around, stick it. And you don't need to go too tight on these. But one thing is you don't want to stick it on the connection. You want to stick it on the motor wires. So then if you ever do have to take them off again, you don't have to get a new zip tie and you don't have to crack it. So it should look somewhat like this attached to the chassis rail. So now that you've done that, what you can do is grab the switch to turn it on and off. And now you want to cut a tiny little piece of your sticky tape so you can stick it down. A tiny little piece, it's like this big, tiny little one. Pull off one side again. And then after you pull off that side, it can be a little challenging. Pull that side off and stick it all the way on the end of the off side of the switch. So you'll know it says off and on. Stick it all the way as far over on the off. Then stick it down, hold it down for a minute, and peel off the other side. And then after you peel that off, you're gonna notice on your chassis right here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's gonna be a distinct hole that should fit right through, the switch should fit right through. What you're gonna wanna do is push it in the hole and then stick that sticky tape on the side of the chassis where the ESC and receiver is mounted. Just stick it down real hard and that should stay there pretty nicely. And then you're gonna take the same wire that was on the receiver. It looks the same, the connector. It looks very similar. And you connect that to channel 2. So now, after you do that, it should only go in one way. Your car has all the electronics installed. It's all installed. And it might look a little messy, but once the body's on it, it's fine. So if you want to test it out, if you can charge your battery, turn on your radio, turn it on, and all it is a switch, but I'm not gonna do it now because I don't have a battery charged. So that's that step done. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you on one of my other videos.